Welcome to another book talk with Tracy. I am sitting here in front of one of my bookshelves, and I thought today I would mention this play, The Western Tale, which has been republished by Big Dog Plays. So I had previously, it was published once before by a company called Jack Pub, and it did quite well, and I've enjoyed, seeing productions of it. I've actually produced it twice myself with different drama groups. But it is based on Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale. Kind of loosely based, I would say. Although, the characters, it has the same characters. They're sort of parallel characters. But I decided rather than, an Elizabethan universe, I would set it in a Western sort of a setting. So that was what's really fun about this play. Unfortunately, Jack Pub, they retired the company, and so the rights reverted back to me, which is fine. I do have some copies of this particular version that I could just hawk out of my basement, so to speak. But I did start looking for another play publishing house that might like to publish the play for me, because I do find that it's a lot better in terms of distribution and stuff like that, especially if you're targeting that high school market or that small theater group sort of a market that most of my plays are targeted toward. It is nice to have sort of the backing of a bigger company behind you for advertising and distribution. So I'm very happy to say that Big Dog Plays, whom I have some other plays with as well, decided to pick this one up once the rights reverted back to me. So they have published it. It came out in 2023, and they've done a great job. It's essentially the very same play. There's not a lot of changes in terms of the play itself, but it's in a new format, brand new cover, and of course they have the rights to distribution and for royalties, performance royalties and things like that. One of the things, I do like this cover. It's kind of funny. It's got the bear on the front. So if you know anything about Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale, which it's based on, there is this scene where a bear comes out and chases somebody across the stage. And it's quite funny because, in Shakespeare's stage notes, it says, "Exit chased by a bear." So it's kind of a funny little note that's in his play. And so that was important to include that in this one as well, exit chased by a bear. But as I say, it is it's set in a Western town, probably, think of your typical Western movie or whatever. And we have the Big Leo, who is a big ranch owner, as one of the main characters, and then his best friend Doc Xavier, who they end up they're fast friends at one point, and then they kind of become enemies. So that's sort of what happens in the storyline is these two who were friends. Suddenly Big Leo gets jealous and thinks that Doc Xavier was hitting on his wife. And so, of course, it's not true, but that's what he thinks. And then he sets out on this campaign to discredit his friend, but also to punish his wife because he thinks that she's been having an affair with his best friend. Well, all kinds of things happen in both the original Shakespearean version and, of course, in mine, where there's a mock trial to try his wife Ramona for infidelity, and then she dies of a heart attack, a broken heart at the trial. Of course, we learned later on that she didn't actually die. But in any case, that's what happens, and she also has a baby, and Leo thinks that it's not his baby, so he sets out to get rid of that baby, and it's a little bit harsh, but he doesn't want to have anything to do with that child. So one of his ranch hands takes the baby and is supposed to dispose of it. But of course, being a guy who wouldn't want to do anything like that, his ranch hand, Gus takes the baby and instead just leaves it somewhere for somebody to find. Well, along come these sort of unsavory squatters They're kind of hillbillies in my version, and they take the child and raise her. So the interesting thing about this story, which is, as I say, based on Shakespeare, is this thing that's happening in the past, and then we fast forward all these years later, 16 years in fact, when the young girl has grown up in this family of hillbillies, and of course she falls in love with Doc Xavier's son. That's the rival of Big Leo, her biological father. So those two decide to scurry off together and get married. Of course, the doc doesn't think that this young squatter's daughter is good enough for his son. He wants him to go to medical school, follow in his footsteps. So they run away, and they end up back where they began, at the ranch of Big Leo. It's a great play because at the end of the day, Big Leo has changed his ways. He's no longer harsh. He feels bad for what he did. He's still mourning the death of his wife. And so he takes these two youngsters in to protect them. And then at one point, Doc Xavier comes and there's a duel. They're going to fight, and then lo and behold, at the wedding of the two young people, we find out that Ramona, the mother, isn't dead after all. She has been hiding all these years thanks to her maid, in this case the housekeeper, Paulina, and she reappears and they are united. So it's considered a comedy in Shakespeare's world because, people get married and it ends happily ever after. But I would say it's more of a tragic comedy in some ways because, there are some harsh issues talked about in the story. Just this whole sense of being falsely accused, the fact that Big Leo would be so incensed that he would even want this baby to be killed or disposed of. Some really dramatic things that happen in the play. One of the things about the bear, I believe in the original version, the servant who gets chased by the bear, he dies. But I decided instead to have him just come back in the second act with one arm. So that makes it a little less tragic, I suppose. In any case, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because I have shared it before on Booktalk, and I've had a blast producing it myself a couple of times. It's just a lot of fun to produce. So it's a little bit of a different twist on Shakespeare because it is a Western, but it's a lot of fun. But I wanted to talk about it today because it is a new version that's out, which I'm very proud of and I'm happy to be promoting. So here it is. It's called The Western Tale, based on Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale, and it is currently available for purchase and for performance through Big Dog Plays. So check that out, bigdog.com. And that is it for Book Talk with Tracy. You can actually go onto my website and see a list of all of my plays with all of the various publishers, and you can there's links to those places where you can find out more. And if you are in the theater market, you might want to check that out. In any case, I love to hear from people, so send me a message, comment on my website. It's tracykraus.com, and that's it for this time. Bye.